In a dramatic and unexpected turn of events, Jonathan Lamb, the son of Daystar television network founders Marcus and Joni Lamb, has publicly criticized the leadership of the ministry his parents built. Daystar, once seen as a beacon of unwavering faith and unity, now finds itself in the midst of a storm, with Jonathan's bold accusations raising questions about the very integrity of the organization. As a longtime member of the Daystar family and a key figure in its leadership, Jonathan's criticisms have taken the Christian community by surprise, sending shockwaves through both loyal supporters and detractors of the ministry alike. The shocking allegations against Daystar leadership, Jonathan Lamb's public criticism. The Daystar television network, a global Christian broadcasting platform, has been facing a tumultuous period since the death of its co-founder, Marcus Lamb, in 2021. The controversies surrounding the network have been compounded by allegations from Marcus's son, Jonathan Lamb, who has publicly criticized what he sees as a breakdown in the network's leadership and management. Jonathan has accused the current leadership, particularly his mother Joni Lamb and her new husband Doug Weiss, of straying from the ministry's original mission of faith-based service. His public allegations have caused a rift within the family and the broader Daystar community, putting the network's integrity and future in jeopardy. Financial mismanagement, the honeymoon scandal. One of the most explosive accusations Jonathan Lamb has made is related to what he describes as the misuse of funds within Daystar. He specifically points to a lavish honeymoon that his mother, Joni Lamb, and her new husband, Doug Weiss, took following their marriage in 2022. Jonathan alleges that Daystar, the organization founded by his late father, covered the extravagant $100,000 honeymoon expenses. According to him, such a lavish expenditure was both inappropriate and unethical, particularly for a faith-based organization that relies heavily on donations from viewers to fund its operations. Jonathan argues that Daystar's financial resources should be used to further the mission of the network, spreading the Christian message, uplifting communities, and providing support to those in need, not funding luxury vacations for the network's leadership. The timing of the honeymoon, coming shortly after Marcus Lamb's unexpected death, added an extra layer of controversy. Jonathan feels that, at a time when Daystar should have been focused on healing and supporting the grieving family, the leadership's actions sent the wrong message to the network's devoted followers. The allegations of financial mismanagement have sparked a wider conversation about the ethical responsibilities of faith-based organizations. Many viewers and supporters of Daystar are left divided. Some support Jonathan's claims of financial misconduct, while others accuse him of airing family disputes in a public forum. Regardless of where individuals stand on the issue, Jonathan's revelations have raised questions about the transparency and accountability of Daystar's financial practices. Sidelined by leadership, a culture of silence and loyalty. In addition to his accusations of financial mismanagement, Jonathan Lamb has expressed frustration over what he perceives as a culture of silence and loyalty within Daystar's leadership. He claims that when he raised concerns about the network's direction and financial decisions, his efforts to bring about transparency were met with resistance. According to Jonathan, rather than being listened to and taken seriously, he was sidelined, and his concerns were ignored by the leadership. Jonathan paints a troubling picture of an environment within Daystar where loyalty to the leadership was valued above all else, even when it came at the expense of the core values of transparency and accountability. He describes a culture in which questioning the leadership or raising concerns about decisions was discouraged. For Jonathan, this was a betrayal of the ministry's founding principles, values that were centered around openness, faith, and serving the needs of others. The problem, Jonathan suggests, lies not just in the leadership's decisions, but in its inability to listen to those who have the network's best interests at heart. He believes that Daystar's focus has shifted from its original mission to self-preservation and maintaining power, leaving little room for dialogue or differing perspectives. This has contributed to a sense of disillusionment and frustration for Jonathan, who had once been hopeful about his role in the ministry's future. The tracker incident, breach of trust and privacy. Perhaps the most alarming of Jonathan's allegations is the revelation that Daystar's security team placed a tracker on his car. According to Jonathan, the tracker was installed without his knowledge or consent and was part of an effort by the network's leadership to monitor his actions and movements. This act of surveillance has raised serious concerns about privacy and the lengths to which the leadership of Daystar is willing to go to control the narrative and silence dissenting voices. For Jonathan, the installation of the tracker represents not just a breach of trust, but a violation of his privacy. He believes that the decision to monitor his movements was a clear attempt to intimidate him into silence, particularly as he continued to speak out against the network's leadership and management. The implications of such an action are profound, as they paint a picture of a ministry that values control and secrecy over faith, respect, and transparency. The tracker incident has intensified the public debate surrounding Jonathan's allegations. Some supporters of Daystar view the actions as an overreach, while others see it as further proof of the toxic environment within the network's leadership. Regardless of one's position, the incident has raised critical questions about the culture of fear and control that Jonathan claims exists within Daystar, and whether this is a ministry that can truly claim to serve the values of faith and trust. Doug Weiss's role, a family rift, deepens. The situation within the Lamb family has been further complicated by the increasing role of Doug Weiss, Joni Lamb's new husband. Doug's involvement in Daystar has raised concerns, particularly from Jonathan, who feels that his late father's legacy is being undermined by Doug's rapid rise within the ministry. Doug, who has a background in psychology and ministry, became a co-host on Daystar programming shortly after his marriage to Joni, and many of the network's viewers have noticed his growing presence. For Jonathan, Doug's increasing prominence in Daystar has exacerbated the family tensions. He feels that Doug's rise is a challenge to the legacy Marcus Lamb built, especially when the focus should have been on mourning Marcus and honoring his memory. The speed with which Doug has ascended to such a prominent role within Daystar has left Jonathan feeling sidelined and pushed out of a leadership position that he had hoped to inherit. This shift has only deepened the rift between Jonathan and his mother, Joni, as well as between him and the rest of the Daystar leadership. The growing presence of Doug Weiss on Daystar's programming has led many viewers to question whether Doug is positioning himself to take a more prominent leadership role within the network. For Jonathan, this is a slap in the face, a reminder that his family's ministry is now being led by a new figure, one that he feels has no rightful claim to the legacy of his father. Allegations of abuse and family retreat incident. In addition to the financial and leadership disputes, Jonathan Lamb has also spoken about a troubling incident that occurred during a family retreat. According to Jonathan, tensions within the family reached a boiling point during this retreat, and he alleges that emotional and psychological abuse took place. These events have left Jonathan feeling deeply hurt and alienated from his family, and his decision to speak out about the abuse has only intensified the public scrutiny of the Lamb family. The retreat, which was meant to be a healing and reconciliation opportunity, instead became a site of conflict and emotional pain. Jonathan has claimed that the emotional toll of this retreat has stayed with him, and the unresolved family issues that it exposed have left a lasting scar. These allegations of abuse, combined with the financial mismanagement and privacy violations, have painted a dark picture of the Lamb family and Daystar television network, further complicating the public's perception of the organization. The future of Daystar. Can it survive the storm? The future of Daystar television network is now uncertain. The ministry, once seen as a beacon of hope and spiritual guidance, is now facing a crisis of confidence. Jonathan's public accusations have raised difficult questions about the network's leadership, financial practices, and the integrity of the ministry's mission. Daystar's supporters are left grappling with the reality of what Jonathan has revealed, and many are questioning whether the network can survive this internal strife. The fate of Daystar may ultimately depend on how the leadership responds to the accusations. Will they seek transparency, address the issues that have been raised, and work to rebuild trust within the family and the community? Or will the network's division only deepen, leaving behind a fractured organization that no longer embodies the values it once stood for. As Daystar faces this ongoing crisis, it has sparked a larger conversation about accountability and transparency within faith-based organizations. Jonathan Lamb's brave actions have opened up a broader dialogue about the ethical responsibilities of Christian ministries, and the entire Christian broadcasting world is watching to see how this controversy unfolds. One thing is clear: the Lamb family's public rift and the revelations surrounding Daystar will forever change the landscape of Christian media. The passing of Marcus Lamb and the shift in leadership. Marcus Lamb, the co-founder of Daystar television network, was more than a businessman. He was a spiritual leader whose vision helped shape the network into one of the most influential Christian broadcasting platforms in the world. When Marcus passed away in 2021, his death marked a profound moment of transition for Daystar and left a leadership vacuum that would reverberate through the Lamb family and the ministry for years to come. Marcus's wife, Joanna Lamb, assumed the role of president and CEO of Daystar, continuing her late husband's legacy. However, this decision was not without its complications. Many within Daystar and the broader Christian broadcasting community had viewed Marcus's son, Jonathan Lamb, as the natural successor to his father's role. Marcus had expressed his hope that Jonathan would eventually take the helm of the network, but in the wake of his death, Daystar took a different direction. Jonathan's exclusion from key leadership decisions in the wake of his father's passing was a bitter pill for him to swallow. He had dedicated much of his life to the ministry that his parents had built, and the exclusion left him feeling betrayed. As Joanna married Doug Weiss, a Christian psychologist with no prior connection to the network, Jonathan's frustration with the changing dynamics grew. Doug's rising influence within Daystar, particularly in the aftermath of Marcus's death, only deepened the rift between him and his mother. Jonathan viewed Doug's rapid ascension within the ministry as an affront to his father's legacy. The scandalous honeymoon incident and allegations of misuse of funds. One of the most explosive allegations made by Jonathan Lamb concerns the misuse of ministry funds. Jonathan publicly claimed that Daystar used donations, meant for spiritual growth and ministry initiatives, to fund a lavish honeymoon for his mother, Joanna, and her new husband, Doug Weiss. According to Jonathan, the honeymoon cost a staggering $100,000, an expense he found both inappropriate and unethical for a faith-based organization that prided itself on its devotion to serving the needs of its viewers, many of whom gave generously under the assumption that their donations would further the gospel. For Jonathan, the scandal surrounding this extravagant expenditure was deeply troubling, particularly given the context. At a time when the Lamb family should have been focused on healing from Marcus's death, Jonathan felt that the leadership of Daystar prioritized personal indulgence over the ministry's core mission of service to its supporters. The incident left many followers questioning whether Daystar, once a beacon of integrity, had strayed from its original values. Jonathan has also alleged that when he attempted to raise concerns about the financial misuse, he was silenced by the leadership. He claims that rather than engage in a transparent dialogue about the issues, the leadership chose to ignore his concerns and dismissed his growing disillusionment with the direction of the network. This lack of transparency further exacerbated Jonathan's frustration and led to his public criticism of the leadership. The tracking incident, a breach of privacy and trust. The controversy surrounding Daystar deepened when Jonathan Lamb revealed another shocking allegation: that a tracker had been placed on his car by the network's security team. This revelation raised serious questions about the extent to which the leadership was willing to go to control its narrative and monitor Jonathan's actions. Jonathan claimed that he discovered the tracking device without his knowledge or consent, and that it was intended to monitor his movements as he continued to speak out about the issues plaguing Daystar. For a ministry that espouses values like transparency, trust, and faith, the act of tracking a family member was a troubling violation of privacy. Jonathan described the experience as both invasive and intimidating, and his discovery of the tracker only intensified the growing rift between him and the leadership of Daystar. Supporters of Daystar were left grappling with the reality that the organization, which had once been seen as a pillar of integrity, had resorted to such extreme tactics in an effort to control the narrative. This breach of privacy raised serious ethical questions, particularly about the role of faith-based organizations in upholding their promises of transparency and trust. The incident further eroded Jonathan's confidence in the leadership and cemented his belief that the network had lost its way. The family retreat incident and allegations of abuse. Perhaps one of the most disturbing revelations to emerge from the Lamb family saga is the allegation of emotional and psychological abuse that allegedly occurred during a family retreat in 2021. The retreat, which was intended to be a time of healing and reconciliation after Marcus's death, turned into a site of intense emotional conflict. Jonathan Lamb claimed that during the retreat, his daughter was subjected to an upsetting incident involving another family member. While the full details of the incident remain unclear, the mere suggestion that such an event could take place within a family that had long projected an image of unity and faith is deeply troubling. Jonathan has expressed anger and disappointment about how the incident was handled, believing that his concerns were brushed aside to protect the family's public image. The emotional toll of these events left a lasting impact on Jonathan, and his willingness to speak out against what he saw as a cover-up further damaged his relationship with his mother and the leadership of Daystar. The family's struggles, once hidden from the public eye, had now become a central point of contention for supporters of the network. Jonathan's secret recording of family meeting. As tensions within the Lamb family escalated, Jonathan Lamb took the unprecedented step of secretly recording a private family meeting. The meeting, which was intended to address ongoing tensions and conflicts, became a focal point for the drama that had been brewing for months. In the recording, Jonathan expressed his concerns about the direction of Daystar, the growing influence of his mother's new husband, Doug Weiss, and the financial mismanagement he believed was occurring within the network. The release of the recording to the public sparked an outcry among Daystar followers. Some praised Jonathan for his courage in exposing what they viewed as a toxic environment within the ministry, while others were deeply disappointed by the breach of family loyalty and trust. The fallout from the recording has left the Lamb family's reputation in tatters, with many questioning whether the damage to the family's relationships could ever be repaired. Jonathan Lamb's termination from Daystar. Amid the intensifying public drama, Jonathan Lamb was eventually terminated from his position at Daystar Television Network. According to his mother, Joanna, Jonathan's dismissal was the result of ongoing performance issues, including poor leadership, missed responsibilities, and a lack of engagement with key departments. Jonathan had been placed on a performance improvement plan, PIP, prior to his dismissal, with clear expectations for his performance outlined. However, when Jonathan failed to meet these goals, his termination was seen as the logical next step. Jonathan, however, has strongly denied that his firing was related to performance issues. He believes that his dismissal was retaliatory, stemming from his vocal criticism of Daystar's leadership and his efforts to expose what he perceived as financial misconduct and a lack of transparency. The timing of his termination, coming soon after the publication of his allegations, led many to speculate that it was more about silencing dissent than addressing performance concerns. Joanna Lamb's denial of cover-up allegations. Amidst the growing scandal, Joanna Lamb has steadfastly denied the allegations of covering up abuse or mishandling ministry funds. In an emotional public statement, she rejected claims that she had ignored or suppressed any inappropriate behavior within the family or the ministry. She emphasized that the incidents involving her granddaughter and other family members had been addressed at the time, and that claims to the contrary were being distorted by those seeking to damage her family's reputation. Despite the ongoing controversy, Joanna remains resolute in her belief that Daystar's mission remains pure, and that her family is being unfairly targeted. She expressed heartbreak over the public airing of private family matters, but reaffirmed her commitment to both her family and the ministry. For Joanna, the division within the Lamb family has been incredibly painful, but she remains determined to stand by her decisions and protect the network. Conclusion: the future of Daystar and the Lamb family. As the drama surrounding Jonathan Lamb's accusations and the growing divide within the Lamb family continues to unfold, the future of Daystar television network remains uncertain. The network, once seen as a pillar of Christian broadcasting, now faces an existential crisis. The internal rift within the Lamb family has raised serious questions about the leadership, values, and direction of Daystar. With the Lamb family divided and tensions running high, many are left wondering if Daystar can overcome these challenges and restore its credibility. The fate of Daystar may well depend on how the Lamb family resolves its internal conflicts. If they are unable to reconcile their differences, the network's ability to regain the trust of its audience could be seriously compromised. The next steps for Daystar and its leadership will be critical in determining whether the network can continue to fulfill its mission, or whether this rift will mark the end of an era for one of the most influential Christian networks in the world. The coming months will likely determine whether the Lamb family can rebuild its relationships, restore the network's integrity, and continue to fulfill the vision Marcus Lamb established for Daystar.